The wedding was meant to be a new beginning, a moment of peace carved out from decades of pain. Hope Logan had chosen love over bitterness, unity over rivalry. In a move that stunned the Forresters, the Logans, and even herself, she had invited Steffi Forrester, her lifelong rival, the woman who had once stood between her and Liam Spencer, to be her maid of honor. It was more than a gesture. It was a declaration. Hope was choosing to end the war, to look forward instead of back. She was marrying Carter Walton, and she wanted the world to see that she and Steffi were no longer enemies, but allies, maybe even sisters. For weeks, the preparations moved with the frenetic pace of a fairy tale. The Forrester estate bloomed under layers of silk and crystal, white roses climbing trellises and soft piano melodies trailing through the halls. Hope's dress was a masterpiece of Forrester craftsmanship, modern, romantic, and daring. And Steffi, despite her doubts about Hope and Carter as a couple, committed herself completely to her role. She held Hope's hand through fittings, argued with caterers, coordinated with the press. It wasn't easy. Old memories surfaced like bruises under the skin, but she swallowed them. For Hope. For Liam. For peace. Hope had never seen Steffi like this, focused, calm, supportive. It was strange, almost surreal, to share laughter over bridal bouquets and argue about napkin colors like they hadn't spent years ripping each other apart. But there it was. A fragile sisterhood. Unspoken but real. The ceremony was beautiful. Guests cried, toasts were made, and for the first time in a long time, there was no tension hanging in the air. Just joy. Just hope. Carter looked at Hope like she was the only light in the room. Steffi stood proudly beside her, her eyes not just on the bride, but occasionally scanning the crowd, searching for Liam. Liam had promised to come. He was weak, yes, the tumor had progressed faster than anyone expected, but he wouldn't miss this. Not for anything. This wedding was more than just Hope's next chapter. It was a symbol of everything he'd hoped for in his final days. Peace between the two women who had shaped his life. And a future for the children they shared. He arrived just in time, slipping into the back row during the exchange of vows. Pale, thinner, but still trying to smile. Hope saw him. And her voice faltered for just a second. Steffi glanced over her shoulder, her face softening. And then the applause. The kiss. The celebration. It was perfect. Until it wasn't. As the guests gathered for the reception, as Hope and Carter danced under fairy lights, Liam collapsed. One moment, he was standing, clapping, even, and the next, he was crumpled on the marble floor, unconscious, before his body hit the ground. Screams echoed across the estate. Hope dropped her bouquet. Steffi sprinted to his side. Panic surged. Ridge shouted for help. Brooke was in tears. Carter pulled Hope back, shielding her from the growing crowd. But she couldn't look away. Steffi was on her knees beside Liam, pressing her hand to his chest, calling his name. He didn't respond. The ambulance came quickly, but not quickly enough to stop the chill from crawling into everyone's hearts. At the hospital, doctors confirmed what both women feared. The tumor had metastasized aggressively. Liam's time was no longer measured in weeks. It was down to days. Maybe hours. Hope and Steffi sat in the sterile waiting room, their makeup smudged, their dresses torn and stained. The echo of wedding bells had been replaced by the rhythmic hum of machines and whispered prayers. The peace they had fought to build now hung by a thread. Then came the doctor. His face was tired, grim, but he had something. There was a trial. Experimental. A last-ditch effort. One spot left. One patient. The catch? It wasn't just a matter of signing papers. The treatment was in Europe. Liam would need to be flown there immediately. And he needed consent. Not just from one next of kin. From both. From Hope, as Beth's mother. From Steffi, as Kelly's. Suddenly, the new alliance cracked under the pressure. Hope, still in her wedding gown, stood rigid. He has to go. We have to do this. We can't give up. Steffi, equally broken, clenched her fists. It's dangerous. That flight alone could kill him. You heard the doctor. It's a chance, Hope snapped. It's his only chance. And what if it's false hope? Steffi shot back. What if we fly him across the world and he dies midair? What if we rob him of the time he has left with his daughters? Silence. It wasn't just a disagreement. It was war, reborn from grief. Hope saw it as a betrayal. After everything, after the dress fittings and the speeches and the tears, Steffi was hesitating. Again. Holding on. Trying to control what should have been a united front. Just like old times. Steffi saw it differently. She saw a woman who had always been too idealistic. Too quick to believe in miracles. This wasn't about Hope's feelings. This was about Liam. About reality. The doctors refused to intervene. Legally, both had the right to speak. And neither would budge. Hours passed. Liam remained unconscious, machines doing what his body no longer could. Beth and Kelly had been brought in to see him. It nearly broke both women to watch the girls climb into their father's bed, whispering to him as if their love alone could wake him. The trial coordinators called again. Time was up. They needed a decision. Hope stood in the hallway, staring through the glass at the man who had defined her life. She remembered their wedding, their daughter's birth, every betrayal, every reunion. She remembered forgiving him, leaving him, choosing him, losing him. And then Steffi appeared beside her. They didn't speak. They just looked at him. And then at each other. Tears streamed silently down both their faces. And slowly, with pain in every breath, they nodded. Together. The paperwork was signed. The jet was prepared. Liam was stabilized. The two women rode in silence as the ambulance carried Liam to the private airfield. Neither spoke. There was nothing left to say. They had made their choice. Not for themselves. Not even for each other. For him. The jet took off just after sunrise, slicing through the sky toward a Hope no one dared name aloud. In that cabin, Hope held Liam's hand. Steffi watched the monitors. And somewhere over the Atlantic, he opened his eyes. Just for a second. Long enough to whisper both their names. Long enough to smile. Long enough to remind them that no matter what happened next, they had already done the impossible. They had saved each other. And now, maybe, just maybe, they could save him too. This week on The Bold and the Beautiful, a chilling new chapter begins with the most unlikely of family reunions. Sheila Carter, infamous for decades of betrayal, manipulation, and cold-blooded violence, is about to discover that her own legacy may have birthed a more dangerous successor. Luna Nozawa, sweet-faced and deceptively innocent, finally meets her biological grandmother. But beneath the hugs and smiles, this encounter marks the beginning of something far more sinister. Luna, played by Lisa Yamada, has long hidden behind a composed, respectful facade. Seen by many as reserved and traditional, she has fooled nearly everyone around her, including her own mother, Poppy Nozawa. But the woman who walks into Sheila's orbit now is not a victim. She's not naive. She's calculating, ruthless, and ready to rewrite her family legacy, one bloodstain at a time. The mask comes off when Luna opens up to Sheila in private. She's not here for tea and bonding. She's here with a plan. Steffi Forrester must be removed. Permanently. The revelation stuns Sheila, who had no idea her quiet little granddaughter harbored such lethal intent. Luna is cool, calm, and disturbingly rational as she explains why Steffi must go. She sees Steffi as the obstacle standing in the way of her future at Forrester Creations, the last barrier between her and full control of a life she believes she deserves. What Luna wants is freedom, power, and revenge. And to get it, she believes Steffi's removal is not just necessary, it's inevitable. Sheila, no stranger to bloodshed herself, initially listens with a strange mixture of shock and twisted admiration. She has tried to walk away from that life, to start anew. Especially after dodging prison so many times, it's practically a miracle she's walking free. She's even managed to scrape together something resembling peace with her son, Finn. But this proposition threatens all of it. When Luna asks for her help, Sheila hesitates. Not because she's appalled, but because she knows what's at stake. Her freedom, her family, her life. She's worked too hard to claw her way back from the ashes of her own destruction. Helping Luna would undo everything. Still, she doesn't say no. Not right away. Luna, however, takes the pause as weakness. She presses harder, outlining every step of the plan. How they could make it look like an accident. How Sheila's past would make her the perfect scapegoat. How no one would suspect Luna. After all, who would ever believe that the quiet, reserved girl from the Nozawa line had orchestrated murder? The more Luna talks, the more Sheila begins to see the truth. Luna isn't here for help. She's here to use her. And worse, if she doesn't comply, Luna may decide that she's the liability. Because Luna isn't just planning a murder. She's planning the cover-up. And she's already chosen who will take the fall. This isn't speculation. Luna has done it before. Poppy Nozawa, her own mother, is living proof. Viewers will remember that Luna orchestrated a complex scheme to frame Poppy for a murder Luna committed, sending her mother to prison while she walked away clean. That kind of cold, remorseless betrayal shakes even Sheila Carter to her core. If Luna can do that to her mother, what might she do to a grandmother she's only just met? Sheila begins to sense the trap forming around her. Her past makes her a perfect patsy. Her reputation, her criminal record. The history of bad blood with Steffi, for Luna, it all adds up to the perfect crime. If Steffi dies and Sheila is anywhere near the scene, no one will hesitate to point fingers. But Sheila Carter didn't survive decades in the soap opera underworld by being stupid. She begins playing her own game, watching, waiting, pretending to go along with Luna's plan while secretly gathering information. She meets with old allies, tracks Luna's movements, and starts laying the groundwork to protect herself. Still, time is not on her side. Luna is moving fast. Steffi has recently returned to work, putting herself directly in Luna's crosshairs. Luna starts showing up uninvited, acting overly helpful, ingratiating herself with the staff at Forrester Creations. Everyone thinks it's just ambition. Only Sheila sees the storm brewing beneath the surface. And when Sheila tries to warn Finn, her son doesn't listen. He doesn't believe that Luna, sweet, gentle Luna, is capable of something so dark. He thinks Sheila is just spiraling again. Maybe jealous. Maybe delusional. That disbelief may cost him dearly. Meanwhile, Luna accelerates her plans. She invites Steffi to a private retreat under the guise of a peace offering, a long weekend to talk about collaboration between Hope for the Future and the main Forrester line. Steffi, trying to live up to the new culture of unity and forgiveness, agrees. She doesn't know she's being led into a trap. But Sheila does. Now caught between exposing Luna and risking her own arrest, or staying quiet and letting Steffi walk into the lion's den, Sheila makes a desperate move. She tries to intercept Luna at Il Giardino, the site of so many past crimes. She confronts her, hoping to shake her, maybe even scare her off course. But Luna's composure is terrifying. She doesn't flinch. Instead, she reminds Sheila that any sudden interference could place both of them in danger. After all, they've been seen together. Their DNA is linked. If this goes sideways, the trail leads to both of them. And then she threatens her. Calmly, chillingly. If anything happens to me, Luna says, I made sure the police know who to look at first. You. Now Sheila knows the truth. She's not in control. She's in the crosshairs. Back at Forrester, Hope begins to sense something is off. Luna has become erratic, too intense, too focused on Steffi. She brings her concerns to Brooke and Ridge, but they dismiss it. Hope has always been emotional, they say. She's overreacting. But when Luna's carefully hidden obsession with power begins to bleed into her work, when files go missing, appointments are sabotaged, models are injured, Hope can no longer ignore it. She starts digging, quietly, and what she finds will blow the entire foundation of the Nozawa legacy apart. She uncovers the truth about Poppy's arrest, the inconsistencies in the case, the missing evidence, the forged signatures, and slowly a horrifying picture emerges. Luna isn't a victim of her family's dysfunction. She's the architect of it. But before Hope can confront anyone, Luna strikes. She and Steffi leave for the retreat. 2 women. 1 car. 1 destination. 1 planned accident. Back in Los Angeles, Sheila receives a cryptic text. It's happening. Panicked, she races to alert anyone who will listen. But it's too late. By the time anyone realizes what's going on, Luna and Steffi are already off the grid. Phones off. GPS disabled. A storm is rolling in, and they're headed straight for it. The next headline hits like a bomb. Steffi Forrester missing. Car found wrecked. Passenger unaccounted for. Luna returns the next day, bruised and bloodied. She claims she tried to save Steffi. That the crash was an accident. That the car skidded in the rain and went over the edge. That Steffi was swept away by the current. Everyone wants to believe her. Everyone but Sheila. She knows better. Now, as the investigation deepens and the body count threatens to rise, Sheila Carter may be the only person capable of exposing Luna Nozawa for what she truly is. Not a misunderstood heiress, but a cold, calculating killer, one who has inherited the darkness of her grandmother and sharpened it into something far more deadly. And unless someone stops her, Luna may succeed in taking everything the Forresters built and burning it to the ground.